Imagine you're in a public bus station, close to midnight, 29 years ago, October 1987. A young boy is boarding the bus alone. He's going to the furthest place that he can. He's determined, no matter what, he's not going back to school tomorrow. They suspended him too many times. He hated to be the troublemaker, but the words just flew in one ear and out the other. He just can't stand it anymore. They are deathly boring. When he got off the bus, he wandered the country for quite some time until he ran out of money. And it was apparent that he doesn't have anything to eat or where to sleep. His next step, find a place that offers both and trade it for the only thing he has, workforce. So a few hours later, he was sitting at an office in a hotel and trying to talk to the night manager and trying to convince him to trade the only thing that he has, labor, for a place to sleep and something to eat. The night manager listened and asked the boy to stay in the room as he go and talk to his boss. A few minutes later, the night manager came back with a police officer who handcuffed the boy and took him to the police station. So much for the great plan of running away from it all. At the station, thinking that it will keep him away from school, the young boy refused to disclose his name or any other details to the officers. And oh boy, this really helped. So they locked him in one of the rooms for hours. I never shared this story publicly, but this young boy is a 12-year-old me. When they opened the door, my father was there. And I was furious. How could it be? Why are they doing it? They should help me, not my parents. They should know that school is bad. I'm the victim here, not them. You see, I never really studied at school. Everything that they taught flew in one ear and out the other. I was bored, and as a result, a troublemaker. Today, I would have been medicated and told to sit quietly as I have ADHD. Luckily, my father offered to move me to another school. The other school was more advanced than my previous one. I won't forget how on the first lesson, over the first day, I sat in a math lesson, and the teacher talked about x and y, and slope and equations. Y equals 3x plus 1. What does it mean? My parents gracefully offered me a private tutor that helped me to catch up with my classmates. Knowing my history, the tutor asked me questions like, what should be the slope of a ladder if you want to escape this room right now through the window? Oh, now you're talking. He visualized and contextualized the math for me, and I really understood it, and I loved it. This is the engagement factor that my 12-year-old brain desperately needed, and I didn't get it in the first school. I was that close to be a school dropout, but I was back on track. You see, visualizing information is not just a tool to teach troublemakers in school. It's hardwired in our brain, and it matches the pace at which we understand information. Researchers at MIT showed that we understand visuals almost instantaneously. We can make a judgment about a scene in as little as 13 milliseconds. We know if it's risky or trustworthy, friend or an enemy, before we even blink. If we keep watching an image for 1 second, we can tell a 1-minute story about what we saw. 1 minute, that's 150 words. If we look at that and keep doing that for 60 seconds, that's a phenomenal information transfer rate of 9,000 words per minute. But the magic doesn't lie only in the amount of information that we can get from visuals. It's in the retention of this information. You see, while a person who reads 150 words per minute can retain 65% of the information, a person who watches an image for just 1 second can retain as much as 90% of the information. That's right. I'm going to show you an image to be brief for just 1 second. Okay, so don't blink and pay attention. Ready? Here we go. Now, raise your hand if you can describe the scene in the image. Everyone can do that. Keep your hands up if you have an opinion about the man in the picture. Is he professional or hobbyist, safe or dangerous? Most of us are still here. Keep your hands up if you can describe the tool that he was using. Screwdriver. Most of us are still here. You see, it's amazing. Telling someone else about what you saw would take you at least a minute. What's the scene? What the man was doing? What's your opinion about that? At least a minute. You got all of that from just 1 second. Isn't it amazing? Now, imagine I gave you a screwdriver and I ask you to move your hand, literally, make the motion. This hands-on experience would have deepened the learning and the retention and make it at close to 100%. All of that from just 1 second. So after experiencing the power of visual learning, it's not a surprise that an app that is focused on visual messaging, Snapchat, became much more popular than Twitter, which is focused on words. Snapchat has more users than Twitter, and there are more snaps per day than tweets. Recently, they surpassed 10 billion picture and video views per day. Yes, billion with a B. And guess what? 80% of our students are using it constantly. What does it tell us? We prefer visuals, obviously, over words. But why? Because words are slow, and they require much more patience to understand the meaning behind them. We have to listen. We have to deconstruct the meaning behind that. We have to imagine what the speaker meant when he talked about that. And if we know something about biology by now, it will always favor the least resource-consuming method of doing things. So in the visual versus words battle, visual wins big time. Now, let's take a look at how schools transfer information to our students by using words. Words in tests, words in books, and teachers who provide wordy explanations for abstract concepts that we want our students to learn and provide very little to no visualization of these subjects. And don't forget, 80% of their clientele are Snapchat users. Now, words are good, don't get me wrong, but they're an awfully inefficient method of transferring information. They're just too slow. Why do you think last year upon graduation, only 1/3 of high schoolers were proficient in math? Because we are testing the patience limit of our students. We are forcing them to think 60 times slower than their natural brain speed. And these teenagers, they have a lot of patience, don't they? In the US alone, there are 1 million high school dropouts every year. That's 7,000 students every day. 5 students every minute who take the path they took. 80% of imprisoned people in the US are high school dropouts. Think about it for a minute. Every day, we are sending fully packed school buses on their way to county jails. If not going to jail, staying out of jail is not enough for you, okay, get this. A high school graduate will earn $1 million more than his classmate who actually graduated. But dropouts are just the tip of the iceberg. Many more students, and I will argue most of the students, are just sitting bored in classrooms. Most of them won't finish the school. They won't actually pass the tests. Many of them won't apply to college, and even those who will, the stats show that 50% of them won't graduate the first year of college. Now, these are not stupid kids or lazy kids or kids with ADHD that need to be medicated. These are bright young adults that are just craving for something to spark their mind, something to spark their creativity, and something to talk to them at the pace that their biology dictates, faster than words. I've dedicated my life since then to bridge the gap between how we present information to how our brain processes it. few years ago, I noticed a trend starting to emerge. Robots are becoming less geeky. From stuff that we need to solder and work on wires and electronics to put together a robot into what we call today smart toys that everyone can operate and enjoy. And who is playing with them? The same kids. Now, robots are very visual. And unlike an image, they move. Unlike a video, their motion and action always have context in our environment, as shown here. So if an image equals 1,000 words, imagine how much information is enclosed in working with robots. For me, it was like, whoa, what a great learning opportunity. So I quit my job, followed my passion, and started an educational robotics company. And we are focused on bringing abstract concepts and core subjects to life using robots. A few years ago, while working on one of the programs, I attended a math probation class at a high school in Austin, Texas. In the lesson, the teacher explained quadratic equations to the students. Well, you can imagine the level of interest students on probation have towards getting better at algebra. One was playing with his phone, the other was falling asleep, and the rest were in different levels of noticeable boredom. Then the teacher took out a quadcopter, placed it in the center of the classroom, pushed a button on her tablet, and the quadcopter took off and hovered in the middle of the class. I can tell you one thing, she got their attention now. Then she explained to the students the quadratic relationship between the height of the quadcopter and the area that its bottom camera can capture. The higher you go, the larger the area that the camera can see. Now, one of the girls that was totally not engaged and interested in all of that raised her hand and asked the teacher, wait, is this the same thing as with the flashlight? If I turn on a flashlight and I go close to the wall, the lighted area becomes smaller. If I move away, the area becomes larger. Can I calculate this area? The teacher said, yes, exactly. It's the same thing. So the girl said, couldn't you say it from the beginning? Quadratics are super simple. You see, without visualizing the math for the student, without opening the curiosity door using a robot, without giving a real-life example of the math, she would have never listened, no matter how many words the teacher would have used. This innovation is not limited just to math that has equations or physics. Let's take a totally different subject. How do we teach today, in language, how do we teach today the abstract concept of synonyms and antonyms in elementary school? Here's a list of words, read through that, generalize the idea, and figure out what's the relationship and how to match a synonym and an antonym. Here's how we do it. Let's pick a word. Let's say sneaky. What defines sneaky? Something that goes quietly and slowly, probably only in the dark. How would you build a sneaky robot? So we'll use a light sensor, connect it to wheels, add a knob to control the speed, and here we go. We have a sneaky robot that actually moves quietly and unnoticed. Now, what's the antonym of that? Something that is very noticeable, right? So let's take the same robot, add a flashlight, and a buzzer, and some swiveling motion, and make sure that everyone will notice this robot when it goes by. Now, show me a single student that will fail the test and won't retain this information after working with these robots. We see it and we understand it. We put our hands on it and we remember it. This is the breadth and depth of the opportunity, the learning opportunity that robots introduce to our life, to our schools. Imagine what would have happened if the night manager at the hotel told the 12-year-old me, yes, you got the job. Or if out of hunger, I stole money or food from somewhere and got caught. There is no reason that young adults will ever have to face these situations. And many that take the path I took can't make the turns I made. All we need to do is visualize the information for the students and contextualize it and give them the hands-on experience they so desperately need. If you manage to do it, it can be a great opportunity for learning that is fun, that is engaging, that is relevant to their lives, and they will retain it. We owe that to our students. Every day, when they go to school, they trust us to teach them based on recent discoveries, and not based on dogmas from a century ago. Helping students pass the patience test is my life mission and commitment to the students and to the teachers. Thank you.